Now let's talk about these teachers. Let's talk about these teachers. This tweet is blowing up on Twitter right now. And it's by a guy named Matthew R.K., who has set his Twitter profile to private suddenly. Can't imagine why. Let's read the wisdom this school teacher in charge of nurturing our young has to say. He says, so this fall, virtual class discussions will have many potential spectators, parents, siblings, etc., in the same room. We'll never be quite sure who is overhearing the discourse. What does this do for our equity inclusion work? A thread. He's realizing that if the kids are not in the classroom physically in the school with him, where he can look around the room and make sure the parents aren't listening in, he's worried. He's a little worried. Let's continue. How much have students depended on the somewhat secure barriers of our physical classrooms to encourage vulnerability? How many of us have installed some version of what happens here stays here to help this? While conversations about race are in my wheelhouse and remain a concern in this no-walls environment, I am most intrigued by the damage that helicopter snowplow... I've never heard of a snowplow parent before. If anybody knows what that means, put it in the comments. I am most intrigued by the damage that helicopter snowplow parents can do in honest conversations about gender and sexuality. And while conservative parents are my chief concern, I know that the damage can come from the left too. If we are engaged in the messy work of destabilizing a kid's racism or homophobia or transphobia, how much do we want their classmates' parents piling on? If we are... Let me just say that last bit again, because this is two in the stunning and one in the brave. If we are engaged in the messy work of destabilizing a kid's racism or homophobia or transphobia, how much do we want their classmates' parents piling on? He thinks that he needs to be able to engage in destabilizing racism, homophobia, and transphobia in your kids. This is like outright activistic schooling. Get your children away from public schools, even virtual ones from home, please. It's not going to get better. This is an outright sort of admission of the exact indoctrination that keeps most people the hell away from public schools. This is the quintessential example of why my children will never step foot in one of those places. I don't want somebody saying something to my kids, thinking they have the right to say something to my kids, that they would in any way be worried about me hearing them say. That is deeply creepy. That is deeply concerning. Hell no. This makes me want to suggest, like, if for some reason, if some configuration of your where you live or whatever that you can't somehow escape immediately keeps you from being able to keep your kids out of these public schools, like, put a voice recorder in their pocket that has enough memory to last all day and record literally everything that goes on so that you can check and see and watch. And what are they trying to hide? You don't know. Does your kid have one of these teachers that is programming them with equity/inclusion work? Trying to destabilize racism and homophobia and transphobia? How prevalent are these teachers? I wonder if anybody in the audience knows anybody that is a public school teacher and can give us any kind of calibration on just how prevalent this is. This is nuts, man. When somebody is worried about being seen, this is like tangentially, well, not really. This is kind of related to the same thing where the college professors are getting pissed off because they're being recorded when they're giving their talks in the classroom. They know that the stuff that they're saying in that room is not acceptable by any stretch of the imagination by the vast majority of the people in the country. So they don't want it recorded. They don't want their voice on tape being played outside the room because people will be rightfully outraged and shocked by the crap that they're teaching. Daniel Earl says, my children will likewise never set foot in a public school. Good. Mark says, the government will always be inefficient in the things that it does. This is way beyond inefficient, man. They're not teaching poorly. They're teaching wrong. They're teaching bad lessons. They're teaching anti-reason. They're training order followers. They're training compliance, like we are seeing now. I went out to what did we do? We went to a restaurant and I tried to go to Home Depot, and I went to my butcher shop. It's such a weird world right now, man. I walk into the butcher shop and there's a sign on the door that's like no more than 15 or 20 people in the store at one time. Everybody else has to wait outside. They have a door guard by the door counting the number of people in the store and slamming the door when an extra person attempts to walk in, and everybody's got masks on except me, and it's just a really wild world right now. Really, really wild. But if nothing else, it's evidencing just how effective this public schooling is on creating adults that are order followers. They are compliance-driven NPC bots. And I feel like I'm starting to sound like Alex Jones, and that is not me. I'm not like that conspiracy nut job. But this is what I'm seeing with my eyes just looking at the world around me right now. The only conclusion I can draw is that either I'm one of a very tiny minority of unempathetic, heartless bitches that doesn't care about anybody but myself, or everyone around me. It's so. I think in weeks of going out to stores over the past couple weeks, I think I have seen one person not wearing a mask. And I don't know if I mentioned this on live stream, but we made eye contact. I forgot what store it was, Home Depot or something. We were walking by and we made eye contact, and we noticed that neither of us were wearing masks, and he smiled at me and nodded his head. And I was thinking to myself, is that guy flirting with me? What the hell's going on? And then I realized, it's because neither of us were wearing masks. It was supposed to be like a secret acknowledgement, but it was really weird, man. One person in Dallas, Fort Worth, one of the largest cities in the world. And I've seen one person, aside from the voluntarists in this area. So it feels like I personally know almost every single dissenter in the city. That's what it feels like, because I don't see them outside of my circle of voluntarists here in Texas. I don't see anybody dissenting or not conforming. And it's just impressing upon me the reality of the situation. That is, like I said, this is the only conclusion I can draw, is that, the schooling system is just hyper effective, way more effective than I thought it was at creating sort of conformist drones. Let me know if you can come up with an alternative explanation for it, but it's highly effective, scarily effective. To take a population of people, this is another thing I was thinking about. To take a population of people, I always thought Americans were the rowdy sort of resistive, rebellious types, because they were the ones that broke from England, took a scary boat ride over, and fought the frontier, to sort of make their own way in the world, and they bucked the massive global authority of the King of England at the time. And so, I just thought there was something maybe special, even at the genetic level or something, of of the people that founded, started this country and that we're descended from. And so either that just wasn't true at all, or this Prussian education model is just so effective that it has managed to, what's the word I'm looking for? Utterly and completely suppress that mindset, that rebellious, rowdy, freedom mindset of the people. And it's probably some mixture of the both. Probably some mixture of the two.